Gender-based violence affects us all. You might be surprised that it also exists in spaces such as this one, in the church space. My name is Rebecca Venge, the Legal Bay, and I'm your host. We're going to be doing a series that allows us to dig deeper into the causes of gender-based violence and, more importantly, what we can do to end and eliminate it in all forms. Today I'm joined by a very special guest as we take a look at gender-based violence in the holy place, in the church. I'm joined by Bishop Vusa Khumalo, and he'll be giving us his perspectives in the very special place that we're sitting in today. Hello, Bishop, and welcome.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Well. I'm fantastic. How's the new year? We are still in the new year, yes?
The new year is good, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me to be part of your program. I hope I will be of great help and contribute to the work you're doing in our society.
Thank you so much, Bishop. I think that the most important question, just to break the ice, is does gender-based violence exist in the church? Have you come across it, and in what forms are you experiencing it?
The church is existent in the world of human beings, and human beings that are in the church and outside the church are the same. It does exist. It is there. It's there. The people that are fighting at home, they are the ones that come to our churches. So so it does exist.
And let's talk about how it manifests. So you rightfully say there that there are people who are at home.
Yes.
They come into the church, perhaps seeking guidance, seeking help.
Yeah.
Let's break down that scenario. How are you dealing with that as a church? Or maybe you can visibly see that there has been some physical violence here.
Yeah. So when we reach out as a church, we reach out to people to have them accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. They come with their baggages in church. Church is not a place of holy people, in a sense. It's a place where, like, you take your car to the garage, and get it fixed there so that it can live better, it can serve you well out there. So we have had, you get lots of cases where people are coming and there's verbal violence, verbal abuse, physical abuse, economical abuse. It comes in many different forms and facets, and we attend to them differently. There are many ways of attending to it. Above it is prayer, but there's always different ways of approaching, when those cases where there's violence at home. We have had cases where pastors are beating up their wives at home. So, that's why I'm saying that the church's existence in the world, what is affecting someone next door, you'll be surprised that it's affecting me as a pastor in my own home. And I think what makes, I've been married for 14 years, by the way. I've never beaten my wife.
Good to know.
I've never beaten my wife in the last 14 years. But she may have felt abused in certain ways, in certain areas, because I'm a human being. But how we deal with that becomes very critical and key. And I'm sure that's why we are here today.
Definitely,
Yes.
Definitely, Bishop Khumalo. That's one of the major cruxes, I think, of this conversation.
Yeah.
You talked about physical violence. We also want to talk about psychological violence. You also talked about financial violence. And I want to break this down, Bishop. So when the perpetrator is a pastor, when the perpetrator is a bishop, when the perpetrator is a priestess, is a prophetess, what's the first port of call? Bishop, what did she?
I think gender-based violence issues, they are very sensitive. And you realize that when you see someone coming to you, they have taken a lot of courage. They have hyped up a lot of courage in order for them to come and say, kumba zvinzvakamira so, you know. Why? Because you want to, it's something you don't want to take out, you know. It's something you don't want the whole world to know that I'm being beaten at home or this is not happening, you know. So when the case comes, you know that, you know what, it's gotten to its limits, you know. When they, I mean, we have had one or two cases that people will come and say, okay, this is what has happened to me. Not necessarily pastors. Well, we've had one or two cases as well, where you find that maybe your pastor friend has been abusing their wife and all those kind of things. And sometimes you ask them, because when someone comes to me and they ask me and say, they tell me what's happening, the first question I ask them is, what do you want me to do with this information? Because some, they tell you not to approach, not to confront. You know, they are trying to take it out of their heart. So you have to be able to judge. Sometimes it may look like you are protecting this monster, but you know, if the person comes to you, there has to be that level of confidence. You know, if they say, no, I'm just telling you to, at least to know and pray for me. You know, so wouldn't you want me to approach and talk to them? Say, no, not now. Yeah. Yeah.
And in cases where perhaps there's danger to one's life, I mean, you know, is there a responsibility there to approach the police or perhaps to escalate the issue where someone's safety, where perhaps minors are involved, children are also now at risk?
I think violence issues between in the homes, they are the way the solution for any solution that's given is it's predominantly based on the affected individual. You know, because you have to be guided by the affected individual more than what this says and so forth and so on. You know, because someone may come and talk to you, but they don't want their spouse to be arrested. Yeah. They say, my husband is beating me, but I love my husband.
Of course,
you know, so you have to know, okay, how do we then approach this? You know, say, but one day you will be killed. Yeah, but it's because the choice ultimately at the end of the day lies with them. What do you want me to do with this thing that you are facing in your home? You know, so having those issues being there, they are there, but sometimes you may, the church may look like they are very silent, but cases are dealt with differently. They are dealt with differently. You'll be surprised how many cases this pastor and that pastor has dealt with in relation to gender-based violence issues, you know, because you also then don't want, when they come on Sunday, everyone else is saying, you know, DI row, you know, and all those. You also want to restore the perpetrator and try and help them that, you know what, you don't beat, you know, kana zvakhona, find someone that can talk on your behalf. Your hands don't have a voice. Yeah.
I feel like pushing a bit further there, Bishop, in terms of, is it something, say for example, you know, let's come back to the scenario where, you know, one of your pastors is physically beating his spouse.
Yes.
Is that cause for dismissal from this calling? Would you say, you have to stop now because you've got this behind you, or you've got these allegations, or perhaps it doesn't even come out in the church? This pastor's wife goes and reports, I've been abused. Or maybe it could be a case of sexual harassment. You know, trainee pastors here, a member of the congregation, pastor. What is the consequence for something like that happening?
Well, obviously, I think the issue of public ministry will have to probably withdraw that particular individual for a period of time, you know, but it's not a cause of dismissal from your calling, because your calling stays with you, but it's your character that is probably, you know, inhibiting your effectiveness. So this person may need time, you know, to work with until they are restored. They know that, you know what, when there's an issue, this is what I should do. You know, because gender-based violence is a sign that there is the relationship is flawed to some extent, or when a conflict is put on the table, someone does not know how to respond to it. You may realize that even the one who is beating, you know, is being abused in a certain way. So the only thing they then revert to is, let me beat this one. Not that I'm saying, you know, and so forth and so on, but I'm saying, you know, you have to approach it holistically. I was told of, I think it was in one of our meetings, you know, I don't know whether I was watching it or something, you know, in a pastor's meeting, where this particular CEO, you know, he's going to work, and the secretary realizes that, you know, this man is not, you know, there's sexual abuse. He is being abused sexually because he's being denied sex at home and things like that. What does the secretary do? She takes up the phone of the boss. She knows the boss is about to leave, puts it on flight mode, and the boss goes, when he's driving off, out of farm by a few kilometers, realizes, I've left my phone. You know, he drives back, but what has the secretary done? She has gone into the boss' office, taken off her clothes, waited for the boss, right? She goes in, he goes in, and one thing leads to another, right? And but he falls pregnant. She falls pregnant, rather, and I mean, this is a responsible person in church. They're a leader in church. The pastors, they gather them together, they sit them down, and the secretary admits, and the boss, who is also an important leader in the church, admits and says, I'm glad she slept with me on that day, because you, as my wife, you have been denying me sex in the last 6 months. You know, and then he says to the leaders, you know, yeah, you can withdraw my public work and ministry and so forth and so on, but uyunda utocha tonight.
Oh.
And they are married today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is happening.
Yeah, I mean,
and
you're on track. You're on track with your work.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got. Obviously, there's no judgment. We listen. We don't judge. As they're saying
Yes,
these days.
yes.
But
you're
I'm
on
just so
track.
fascinated because a lot of people, Bishop Khumalo,
Yeah.
do not even accept
Yeah.
that these things are happening within these hallowed walls and in the church spaces.
No, they are. They are.